whispers of the small crowned heir from a forgotten empire. The planet was called Darev, but no one remembered who named it. It was a dry world covered in gray dust and broken metal. Long ago, it had been important. Now it was only a place where poor humans lived and worked until their bodies failed. The sky was always dull. Old satellites moved slowly above, half dead and forgotten. The people below worked in silence, digging for minerals that were taken by others. They were watched by alien ships that floated like dark shadows in the air. Among these people lived a child named Heir. He was small for his age and quiet. No one knew how old he truly was. He had arrived at the colony years ago in a broken escape pod that fell from the sky during a dust storm. There were no records inside the pod. No name. No data. Only the child and a strange metal band resting on his head. The band looked like a crown, but damaged and thin. It was not shiny. It was not beautiful. It looked old, older than anything the people had ever seen. Heir never removed it. When someone once tried, the band became too hot to touch, and the man pulled his hand away in pain. After that, no one tried again. Heir worked, like everyone else. He carried tools, cleaned machines, and fetched water. He never complained. He never spoke unless spoken to. But when he did speak, his words felt heavy, as if they carried weight far beyond his small body. At night, Heir sat alone near the edge of the colony, staring at the sky. He listened, not with his ears, but with something deeper. Sometimes his lips moved, whispering words that were not from any known language. The ground beneath him often trembled when he whispered. Deep below the surface of Darev, ancient machines slept. They had slept for thousands of years, buried under dust and silence. They were not alien. They were human. No one alive remembered building them. One night, alien patrol ships arrived earlier than usual. Their lights cut through the dark, sharp, and cold. The people of the colony froze. Early patrols meant inspections. Inspections meant punishment. The aliens came down in groups, tall and armored. Their leader was called Rithan, a cold-eyed officer known for cruelty. He had no interest in the humans as people. To him, they were tools that breathed. Rithan walked through the colony, scanning faces. His device paused when it passed over Heir. The crown on the child's head caused the scanner to flicker. Rithan stopped. He stepped closer and bent down to Heir's level. The other aliens watched in silence. "What is that on your head?" Rithan asked. Heir looked up slowly. His eyes were calm. Too calm. "It listens," Heir said. Rithan felt an unexpected chill. He stood up and ordered his soldiers to take the child. When they reached for Heir, the air changed. The ground shook. Lights across the colony flickered. Old machines that had not worked in years hummed softly. Heir whispered again. The words were quiet, but the planet heard them. Deep underground, systems awakened. Power flowed through forgotten lines. Long sealed chambers opened for the first time since the fall of something vast and terrible. Rithan stepped back, suddenly unsure. "What did you do?" he demanded. Heir did not answer. From beneath the colony, a low sound rose. Not a roar, not an explosion. It was a voice. A deep signal that moved through stone and metal, and then into space. The alien ships above detected it too late. The signal escaped Darev and traveled faster than light, moving through dead systems and empty space. It carried no words that aliens could understand, but it carried meaning. It said that memory had awakened. Far from Darev, in a drifting wreck hidden inside a dead star system, a human named Taran felt his ship shudder. He was a scavenger, living off broken technology and forgotten wars. His sensors lit up without warning. An ancient human symbol flashed across his screen. Taran stared in disbelief.
"That can't be real," he whispered. The symbol had been erased from history.
Humans were taught they had always been weak, divided, and unimportant. But the symbol said otherwise. Back on Darev, the colony was in chaos. The alien patrol pulled back, confused and afraid. Refn ordered a full scan of the planet, but his tools failed. The readings made no sense. Ira collapsed to his knees. The crown on his head glowed faintly, then dimmed. The people gathered around him, fear mixing with hope. For the first time in their lives, the aliens looked uncertain. Refn made a decision. "This world is dangerous," he said.
"We will return with force." His ships rose into the sky and vanished into darkness. The humans were left alone with questions they had never dared to ask.
Who was the child? What had he awakened? And why did the forgotten machines answer only to him? That night, Ira dreamed. He saw stars burning and fleets moving together as one. He saw humans standing side by side with others, not as slaves, but as leaders. He saw betrayal, silence, and erasure. When he woke, a single tear rolled down his face. The crown whispered again. And somewhere in the galaxy, something ancient began to move. Far from Darev, in a dark system surrounded by drifting debris, Taran studied the symbol that had appeared on his ship's screen. He had scavenged for years, but he had never seen anything like this. The symbol was human, old and perfect, like a memory that refused to die. It pulsed softly, calling to something buried deep inside him. Taran had been alone for as long as he could remember. His parents were gone, lost in wars he did not understand. He grew up with machines and broken ships, learning to survive by his wits. But now something was stirring, something far bigger than survival. He activated the ship's hidden communication system. It was old, almost forbidden technology. The screen lit up with unreadable codes, but he could feel the pattern. It was a map to places humans had long forgotten, places that were supposed to be gone. Meanwhile, on Darev, the colony tried to return to normal. But normal had changed. Every machine that had once been dead now stirred. Pumps and engines hummed softly. Lights flickered and glowed in patterns the humans did not understand. The aliens were gone, but their shadows still hung in the sky. Ira walked through the streets quietly, touching machines as he passed. The crown on his head pulsed faintly. The whispers that had begun in his dreams now flowed through him in full sentences, though he did not speak them aloud. He understood them. They spoke of stars, of fleets, of a history that had been stolen. An older woman named Mira, who had taken care of Ira since he arrived, watched him closely. She had seen the boy wake strange things before, but even she did not understand the full power hidden in him. "Be careful, child," she said softly. "The world is not ready for you." Ira did not answer. He did not need to. The ground beneath him trembled slightly, as if the planet itself acknowledged his presence. At the edge of the colony, a group of scavengers found a buried chamber. They had been digging for metal when the wall collapsed, revealing a hidden staircase leading deep underground. Dust rose as they descended, but at the bottom they found something extraordinary. Ancient human symbols lined the walls. Machines slept in silence. And in the center, a pedestal, empty except for a glowing indentation. When Ira arrived, drawn by a whisper only he could hear, the machines stirred. The pedestal glowed brighter. A soft hum filled the chamber, vibrating through the floor. The humans around him stepped back, afraid and fascinated. "What is it?" Mira asked, her voice trembling. "It remembers," Ira said. His voice was calm, almost too calm. "It remembers who we were." Above the planet, alien fleets moved quietly in the darkness. They had returned, sensing the signal that had escaped Darev. Their leader, Rethan, had called for reinforcements. He did not understand what was happening, only that something on the planet was alive, something old, something dangerous. In another part of the galaxy, Terran followed the map the symbol had given him. His ship moved faster than he had ever thought possible. He passed dead worlds and drifting stations. On some planets he saw the ruins of human settlements, abandoned and silent. On others, strange ships hovered, alien but unfamiliar. The symbols pulsed again, guiding him toward a point that seemed impossible, a place humans had not reached for thousands of years. Back in the chamber on Darev, the pedestal reacted to Ira's presence. Tiny lights spread across the floor, forming a map of stars. The humans watched in awe as the map shifted and moved, showing paths between worlds that no one had traveled in generations. Ira reached out to touch one of the lights. When he did, a wave of images flooded his mind. Human fleets, massive and precise, moving together in perfect coordination. Cities on planets that had long been erased. Records of battles fought not for power, but to protect. Alliances made and broken. Betrayals that had caused entire systems to forget the name of humanity. Mira gasped. All of this. It was ours? She whispered. Yes, Ira said.
It is still ours. We were never weak.
We were hidden. A sudden alarm echoed through the colony. Alien ships were approaching faster than before. Rethan had detected the signal again and was bringing reinforcements. The humans on Darev were terrified. They had no weapons to fight such fleets, but the machines in the chamber moved on their own. Long-dead turrets rose from the floor. Automated drones powered up. The systems responded only to Ira. The humans watched in fear and wonder as the colony's defenses came alive without any human command. Ira's eyes glowed faintly. The crown on his head shone brighter. He did not speak aloud. He did not need to. The machines understood him. Outside, the alien ships fired, but their attacks were ineffective. Shields rose from nowhere, blocking energy beams. Drones intercepted missiles. The old weapons of humanity, thought to be useless, were working again. Rethan realized that the child was not ordinary. He was not just a human. He was a key. Something ancient and powerful. Something the aliens could not control. "Do not let him leave," Rethan barked. "Destroy the colony if you must. Nothing else will matter." The humans in the chamber felt a new strength rise inside them. Fear was still there, but it was mixed with hope. They were small and weak, but something was waking. Something that had been hidden for generations. Ira whispered again. The machines responded with a hum so loud it shook the chamber walls. The lights on the pedestal formed a single word in the old human script. It glowed, floating above the pedestal like a promise. Remember. Taran's ship entered a system near Darev. He had followed the symbols, and now he was close. His sensors detected the colony, and he saw the strange glow coming from below. He felt the pull in his chest again, stronger than ever. Something told him that the future of humans was tied to this small planet, to this quiet child, and to the crown that refused to be forgotten. Above Darev, The first wave of alien reinforcements arrived. They expected an easy battle, but the colony's defenses now moved with purpose. Drones attacked in perfect formation. Shields protected civilians. Machines that had slept for centuries acted with intelligence. Rethan's fleet hesitated. The child on the ground, small and quiet, seemed to command the impossible. His crown glowed brighter with every attack. Ira walked forward, his eyes steady. He did not raise a weapon. He did not shout. Yet the aliens froze, as if the planet itself demanded they stop. Mira took a step toward him. "Child, they will not stop," she said. "They will stop," Ira whispered. "They have to. Memory cannot be destroyed." And then a pulse of energy shot from the crown into the sky. It was not an attack, not a weapon. It was a signal, a call. Somewhere in the darkness of space, far beyond the reach of the aliens, something ancient stirred. Ships long thought destroyed, fleets hidden in dead systems, machines that had been silent for centuries, all of them responded to the call. The humans on Darev watched in awe. They did not know what had awakened, only that it had. Rethan's eyes widened. This is not possible," he said. Ira looked at the sky. His small voice carried across the colony, across the planet, across the stars. The crown glowed one last time that night, brighter than any star in the sky. And somewhere, far away, Taran felt it. He set his ship on a new course. The map in his mind lit up with paths to places humans had never dreamed of reaching again. The galaxy was waking. Humanity, hidden and silent for so long, was about to remember itself. The signal from Darev traveled faster than anyone could follow. Across empty space, it reached systems that had long been silent. In a hidden asteroid field, a lone ship drifted. Its hull was scarred and patched, showing years of neglect and survival. Inside, Taran stared at the blinking lights on the control panel. His heart pounded in his chest. He had scavenged ships and equipment for most of his life. But this was different. This signal was alive. It called to him. He leaned forward, touching the panel. The ancient symbol glowed brighter under his fingers. It formed a map of star systems, many long forgotten. Each system carried a memory. Taran could feel it. Humans had been there before. Humans had built there. But then, it had all been erased. And now, it wanted to be remembered. Taran took a deep breath. He had always lived day by day, collecting scraps, avoiding danger, moving through the galaxy like a ghost. But now, he knew he had a purpose. Something was stirring, and it was not just on Darev. It was everywhere. On Darev, the colony was recovering from the shock of the alien patrol. The machines in the underground chamber hummed softly, as if resting but ready. Ira walked through the halls, small and quiet, his crown glowing faintly in the dim light. Mira followed him closely. She had never seen power like this in a human, and yet the boy acted as if it were normal. "Child," she said quietly, "do you know what is happening?" Ira's eyes did not leave the machines. "They remember," he whispered. "All of it. The world we lost is waking." The people of the colony could not understand his words, but they could see the change. Broken tools and machines began to move on their own. Lights lit up across the city, showing streets and buildings that had been dark for years. Even the dust seemed to settle differently, as if the planet itself recognized the awakening. Above Darev, the alien fleet returned. Rethan's ships moved in formation, scanning for the source of the signal. He had called reinforcements, bringing more fighters than before. He expected resistance, But not this. The machines of the colony were responding with precision, defending themselves as if guided by intelligence beyond human understanding. Rethan's communicator buzzed. A subordinate reported, "Sir, the signal is still active." "It is. Affecting the systems.
Weapons are failing. Sensors are unstable."
Rethan gritted his teeth. "It cannot be. This is impossible. Do not engage until we understand it." But he knew they had already lost the advantage. In the underground chamber, Ira reached for a panel on the pedestal. The moment his fingers touched it, visions filled his mind. He saw the rise of human cities in the stars, fleets moving in perfect formation, people working together across planets. He saw betrayal, wars that were not won by power but by cunning, and the erasure of memory by aliens who feared the human will. Mira gasped. "All of this was ours?" "Yes," Ira said softly, "and it still is."
We were never weak. We were hidden.
The humans in the chamber felt a stirring inside them, fear mixed with awe and hope. They had always believed they were small, powerless, forgotten. But now, something told them that was not true. Something told them they had a history that could not be erased. The aliens above could sense it too. Rethan observed the colony through sensors. The small humans were moving with a unity he had never seen. Machines, ships, even simple tools responded to a single presence, the boy with the crown. Rethan's voice shook slightly. "This child, he is not ordinary. He is a key." The first wave of alien ships attacked. Energy beams cut through the sky, striking buildings and streets. Humans ran, screaming in fear. But the colony's machines activated. Shields formed from the ground. Drones intercepted attacks. Automated turrets rose from hidden compartments. The colony was alive, and it defended itself with precision. Ira whispered again, his voice carrying across the chamber. The crown pulsed with a soft light. He did not shout or command, yet the machines responded to him perfectly, as if understanding every thought without words. In space, Terran's ship approached the system. He had followed the symbol and the map across hundreds of light years. Now he could see the glow of Darev from his sensors. The planet's surface was alive with energy. He felt it in his bones. Something great was happening. Something humans had not experienced in generations. Terran activated his engines and moved closer. He did not know what he would find, but he knew it involved him. The map had chosen him as surely as it had chosen Ira. Inside the colony, the battle continued. Humans fought alongside machines, their courage bolstered by the awakening of something ancient. They were small, but they were organized. Every action they took had meaning, guided by a memory older than the stars themselves. Rethan realized that his fleet was in danger. The child's presence was disrupting everything. Weapons malfunctioned. Navigation systems faltered. Even his most experienced officers were unsure how to proceed.
"Withdraw," he ordered. "We cannot risk this."
The colony, it is alive in ways we cannot understand, but some ships did not obey. They attacked anyway, driven by fear and orders. The colony's defenses responded, striking with accuracy that no human should have been capable of. Drones moved like soldiers. Shields absorbed blasts without power from the grid. The people on the streets watched in wonder, their fear slowly turning into hope. Ira moved through the chaos, small and quiet, touching machines as he went. The crown glowed brighter with every pulse, connecting him to every device, every hidden weapon, every piece of forgotten technology. He did not feel fear. He felt purpose. Mira followed closely, worried but awed. "Child, they will not stop," she said. "They will stop," Ira whispered. "Memory cannot be destroyed." Above the planet, alien ships faltered. Systems failed. Some officers hesitated, unsure if they were following orders or being guided by something unknown. Others fled, their confidence shaken by what they could not explain. Taran's ship entered orbit. He could see the lights on the surface, the machines rising from the underground, the humans standing together with something that felt bigger than fear. He knew he was part of this now. He did not understand it fully, but he felt connected to the same awakening that had reached him through the symbol. Ira raised his hand toward the sky. The crown sent out a pulse of energy, not as a weapon, but as a signal. It was a call, moving faster than light, reaching beyond the galaxy, beyond the aliens, beyond the dead systems. Somewhere, ships that had been hidden, machines that had slept for centuries, fleets that had been erased, all of them answered. The humans of Darav watched in awe. They did not understand what was coming, only that something had awakened, something powerful, something they had never seen before. Rethan's voice trembled over the comms. "Impossible. It cannot be." Ira looked at the sky. His whisper carried across the colony, across the planet, across the stars. "We are not gone," he said. The crown glowed brighter than any star in the night sky. The humans below felt a warmth in their hearts, a strength that had been hidden for centuries, and somewhere, far away, Taran felt it too. He set his ship on a new course. The map of stars, long erased from human memory, lit up before him. Paths to places humans had never dreamed of traveling again, stretched out like lines of fire across space. The galaxy was waking. Humanity, hidden and silent for so long, was about to remember itself. The galaxy was quiet, but it was a dangerous quiet. Dead stars drifted, their light fading into blackness, and abandoned stations hung like forgotten ghosts. But Darav shone bright against the darkness, a tiny beacon of life and resistance. The pulse of energy from Ira's crown still traveled outward, connecting humans who had been scattered for centuries. Some felt it in their hearts, some in their minds, and some in the machines they used every day. Taran's ship moved closer to the planet. He had followed the symbol across hundreds of systems. He had seen ruined stations, abandoned colonies, and floating debris from long-forgotten wars. And everywhere he went, he sensed something waiting, something ancient, powerful, and human. When he finally saw Darav's glow, he understood. This small world, forgotten and poor, was the spark. It was the beginning of something far larger than he had ever imagined. Inside the colony, Ira walked through the streets quietly. His crown pulsed with soft light, sending signals to the machines buried under the surface. Broken engines roared to life. Ancient turrets rose from hiding. Drones moved in formation, precise and coordinated, as if the planet itself had learned to fight again. The humans watched in awe. They had never seen such power, yet it was not violent. It was alive, protective, and purposeful. Mira followed Ira closely. "Child, they will attack again," she said, her voice trembling. "The aliens will return stronger." Ira's eyes were calm. "They will," he whispered. "But we are not the same as before. We have memory. We have purpose. We have each other." Outside, the alien fleet approached from the darkness. Rethan's eyes scanned the planet. His scanners picked up the energy pulses, the machines moving without human guidance, and the strange glow from the underground chamber. He could feel it in his bones. The humans were no longer weak. They were organized in ways that defied logic. "Prepare the fleet," he said. "Destroy everything if you must. Leave no survivors." Inside the colony, the humans scrambled to ready themselves. Most had no weapons, no ships, no experience, but the machines had learned from Ira. Drones flew overhead, scanning the sky. Shields rose from the streets, protecting civilians. Hidden turrets aimed toward the incoming fleet. The humans acted in unison, guided by instinct and memory. Ira entered the underground chamber again. The pedestal glowed brightly, forming new patterns in the air. Maps of the stars floated around him. He could see human colonies long erased from history, fleets that had once sailed together, and cities that had been forgotten. The crown pulsed, sending commands to all machines connected to the ancient networks. "Child, it is too much," Mira whispered. "How can one person control so much?" Ira looked at her. "I do not control it," he said softly. "It remembers. I am only the voice." A sudden tremor shook the planet. The alien ships fired energy beams at the colony. Buildings shook, dust fell from the ceilings. The humans ran for cover, but the machines responded instantly. Shields flared, drones intercepted missiles, turrets fired with deadly precision. The aliens were stunned. Their attacks had no effect. Rethan clenched his fists.
"Impossible," he muttered. "These are only humans."
"They cannot." His voice trailed off as another pulse from the crown sent a wave of energy across the sky. The alien ships faltered. Engines sputtered. Weapons misfired. Some ships collided with each other in panic. His sensors detected the energy pulse. He felt it in his chest, in his mind. It was a call, a memory, a command. It told him that humans were not gone, that they had never been weak, and that it was time to remember. His ship responded to the call, systems activating faster than they had in decades. Engines roared to life. Navigation became precise. Weapons and shields powered up. Taran understood. He was part of this awakening. Back on Darev, Ira walked through the streets again. He did not raise a weapon. He did not shout. He only moved, and the machines obeyed him perfectly. Drones flew in protective patterns over civilians. Shields flared wherever energy beams struck. The colony was alive, moving as one body, and the humans in it felt it. They were not alone. They were not helpless. The aliens, however, did not understand. Rethan's fleet was powerful, well-equipped, and numerous. But every attack was countered before it could hit its target. Every movement they made was anticipated. They began to retreat, only to find new defenses where none should exist. Panic spread through the ranks. "Sir," an officer said, "their machines are alive. They respond faster than we can predict. We are losing control." Rethan's face hardened. "They are not alive. It is impossible. Humans cannot be this organized. They cannot be." He paused, his voice dropping to a whisper. "They remember." In the underground chamber, the pedestal sent another pulse through the planet. The map of stars shifted, highlighting new points. These were hidden colonies, forgotten fleets, secret stations, all remnants of a human empire thought to be erased. Ira's crown glowed brighter with each pulse. He felt the presence of humans across the galaxy, waiting to respond, waiting to awaken. Mira gasped. "The Empire? It is not gone?" Ira nodded. "It was hidden, but now it is waking. The alien fleet tried to regroup, but the humans had learned quickly. Civilians helped operate machines. Farmers and miners became operators for turrets. Children carried messages and supplies. The colony, once weak and small, moved like a single organism. Every human acted with purpose, guided by the memory of those who had built the empire long ago. Taran landed his ship near the colony. He stepped onto the dusty ground, heart pounding. He had followed the map, the signal, and the Crown's call. Now he stood among humans who were alive with purpose, machines moving at their command, and a child who carried the memory of a forgotten empire. "Ira," Taran said, his voice steady. "I felt it. I came." Ira looked up. His small eyes met Taran's.
"You are part of it now," he said softly. "We all are."
Humanity is waking. The aliens above made one final push. Rethon's flagship fired a massive energy beam toward the colony. The humans scattered. Machines rose to meet the attack. But this time, the pulse from the Crown was stronger. Energy spread across the planet, forming a protective dome. The beam struck the shield and dispersed harmlessly into the sky. Rethon's face went pale.
"No, this cannot be happening." Ira walked forward.
His crown glowed brighter than ever. He did not attack. He did not threaten. He only stood, and the humans around him understood. They did not need orders. They knew what to do. The aliens, realizing they could not win, began to retreat. Their ships faltered under the strange power emanating from the planet. Systems failed. Engines sputtered. Communication lines went dead. For the first time in centuries, humans stood against the invaders and held their ground. Taran looked at the child with awe. "How is this possible?" he asked. Ira smiled faintly. "It was never about power," he said. "It was always about memory. We remember, and we endure. That is why we survive. That is why we will rise again." The pulse from the Crown faded slowly. The machines returned to their resting state, ready but silent. The humans on the streets looked at each other in disbelief. They had faced the most powerful aliens they had ever known, and they had survived. They had not won with strength, but with unity, memory, and the guidance of a child they barely understood. Taran felt a new purpose rise inside him. He had wandered the stars alone for so long. Now he knew he was part of something greater, something that could not be erased. Mira looked at Ira with pride and fear. "Child, what will happen next?" she asked. Ira touched the crown gently. "The galaxy will remember," he said. "And when it does, we will not be small. We will not be forgotten. Humanity will rise, even from the dust." Above the planet, the alien ships disappeared into the darkness, but the message had been sent. Humans across the galaxy, scattered and hidden, felt the pulse of the Crown. They remembered. Some would awaken immediately. Others would follow later, but all would know that they were not alone. Taran looked up at the sky. "The Empire is waking," he whispered. Ira nodded. "And we will make sure it survives." The stars above Darev seemed brighter that night. For the first time in centuries, humans could look at the sky and see themselves not as weak, but as a species that endured, remembered, and would rise again. The galaxy had changed forever, and it began with a small child and a crown that refused to be forgotten. The galaxy was stirring. Humans in hidden colonies, abandoned stations, and scattered settlements were waking from centuries of silence. Ships long thought destroyed were moving through space once more. Machines buried beneath planets and moons hummed with life. It was as if the pulse from Darev had touched every corner where humanity had been hidden, and now the past and the present were joining together. On Darev, the colony was no longer weak. The machines in the underground chamber responded to Ira's presence with precision. Drones patrolled the skies. Turrets moved with intelligence. Shields flared across the streets. Civilians carried supplies and repaired machinery. Farmers, miners, engineers, and children all moved as one, guided by instinct and memory. The colony had become a living organism, and every human played a part. Taran stood near Ira in the chamber. He had spent days coordinating with the scattered humans who had awakened. Messages had reached distant worlds. Ships were rising from hidden docks. Colonies were preparing defenses and repairing forgotten fleets. Taran could feel the pulse of the crown in his chest, guiding him as it guided others. "They are waking faster than I imagined," Taran said. Ira nodded quietly. Memory grows with each connection. The more that awaken, the stronger we become. But the galaxy is watching. They will not let us rise without resistance. Far above Darev, alien fleets gathered. Rethan had returned, this time with larger ships and more advanced weapons. He had learned nothing from his first failure. Fear made him reckless, and arrogance blinded him to what he did not understand. The child, the crown, the colony, they were dangerous, yes, but he believed that overwhelming force could destroy them. The first wave of attack came swiftly. Energy beams lit up the sky, striking the colony with precision. Dust and debris flew through the streets. Civilians screamed and ran for cover. But the humans were ready. The machines activated instantly. Shields flared, absorbing the blasts. Drones intercepted missiles and fighters. Turrets fired with deadly accuracy. The aliens were stunned. Their weapons had no effect. Rethan clenched his fists. "Impossible," he growled. "They are only humans. They cannot resist us this way." In the chamber, Ira raised his hand. The crown pulsed brighter than ever. "Da!" Machines responded not just on Darev, but across the galaxy. Ships that had awakened on distant worlds moved in formation. Hidden stations powered up. Humans in secret colonies prepared defenses. The galaxy itself seemed to respond to Ira's presence. Taran piloted a ship from orbit, joining the defense. He intercepted alien fighters, guiding his vessel with precision. He felt the crown's pulse in his mind, connecting him to the humans below and the ships rising across the galaxy. For the first time in his life, Taran felt part of something larger than himself. The battle raged for hours. Dust and smoke filled the air. Machines and humans moved as one. Every action was coordinated, guided by instinct and memory. Civilians operated weapons, repaired drones, and carried messages. Farmers and children became engineers. Every human contributed. Every human mattered. Rethan's fleet faltered. His ships collided. Weapons misfired. Systems broke down under the influence of the crown. He watched helplessly as his forces were defeated not by strength alone, but by unity, memory, and courage. Taran landed near the chamber. He stepped onto the dusty streets, feeling the pulse of the crown stronger than ever. He looked at Ira and understood. This child carried something far greater than power. He carried memory. He carried humanity itself. "Child," Taran said, "we can awaken them all. We can make humanity rise again." Ira looked at him with calm eyes. "They are awakening," he said softly. "Memory cannot be stopped. It will guide us. It will protect us. It will teach us how to survive and fight. We only need to listen." Across the galaxy, humans responded. Ships moved from hidden docks. Colonies repaired themselves. Engineers activated machines long buried. Children, farmers, and miners all played roles in the awakening. They were scattered and small, but they acted as one. The pulse of memory connected them, and they began to move with purpose. Back on Darev, Rithon realized that his fleet could not win. They were powerful, but they were not prepared for a species united by memory and instinct. His eyes widened as he watched the humans stand together, guided by the child and the crown. He had underestimated what it meant to remember. Ira raised his hand toward the sky. The crown pulsed one final time in a wave of energy. Humans everywhere felt it. Memory flowed through them. Instincts sharpened. Courage rose in hearts that had long been silent. Humanity was no longer scattered and weak. It was awake, aware, and ready. Taran looked up at the sky. "The Empire is waking," he whispered. The humans of Darev cheered, not out of joy for victory, but out of awe for what had been remembered. They understood that this was only the beginning. Humanity was small, yes, but it endured. It remembered. And now it was rising again. Rithon gave one last order to retreat, but even that command faltered. Some of his ships refused to respond, systems failing under the influence of the Crown's pulse. Others fled in panic, leaving the battle incomplete. Humans had survived. Humans had stood against overwhelming power and endured. Ira walked through the streets, small and calm, his crown glowing faintly. He did not raise a weapon. He did not shout. He only moved, and the humans followed instinctively. The colony, once weak and forgotten, was alive and united. "Charl, the galaxy is waking," he said. Ira nodded. "Yes, and humanity will not be forgotten again. We have memory."
We have unity. We have courage.
That is enough to survive. That is enough to rise.
The stars above Darev shone brighter than ever. Humans looked at the sky and saw not weakness, but endurance. They saw not insignificance, but power born of memory and courage. The galaxy was changing. Humanity, hidden and silent for centuries, was rising once more. The pulse from the crown faded slowly, leaving a calm that was more powerful than any storm. Humans had remembered. They had awakened, and they were ready for what was coming next. The Empire was returning, not in force, not in war, but in memory, unity, and the will to survive. Humanity had been small, forgotten, and hidden, but it would endure. It would rise, and it had begun with a small child and a crown that refused to be forgotten. The galaxy had changed. Humans were awakening everywhere. Colonies long hidden from history stirred. Machines buried beneath planets hummed. Ships thought lost for centuries rose from secret docks. Humanity, scattered and forgotten, was no longer weak. And at the center of this awakening was a small child named Ira, and the crown he wore. On Darv, the colony had become more than a place to survive. It was alive. Machines moved as one with humans. Drones flew over streets, patrolling and defending. Turrets aimed at the horizon, precise and ready. Shields flared from walls, absorbing strikes from distant alien scouts who dared approach. Civilians worked alongside engineers, farmers repaired drones, children carried messages. Every human contributed, guided by instinct, memory, and courage. Ira walked quietly through the streets, the crown on his head glowing softly. He did not shout or command. He only moved, and the humans followed instinctively. The colony was his, but it was also theirs. He was a voice for the memory that had long slept, guiding the humans to remember who they were. Terran stood beside him. His ship rested on the outskirts of the colony, engines idle. He had traveled across the galaxy, following the Crown's signal, and now he was part of the awakening. "Child, the galaxy is waking," he said quietly. Ira nodded. "Yes, and we are not alone. Humans across the stars remember, they are ready to rise." Far above Darev, alien fleets gathered for a final assault. Rethan had returned with his largest force yet. Ships bristled with energy weapons and advanced shields. He had studied the humans, learned from past failures, and brought overwhelming power. He believed strength would crush them. He did not understand memory. He did not understand unity. As the fleet moved into orbit, Rethan's bridge was tense. "This will end tonight," he said. "Crush the colony. Leave nothing behind. Do not let them rise again." But the humans were no longer helpless. The pulse from the Crown had reached far beyond Darev. Humans in hidden colonies and scattered settlements responded. Ships rose from secret docks, moving in perfect formation. Stations long abandoned activated. Engineers and civilians operated weapons as if they had always known how. Humanity was united, not by force, but by memory. The battle began. Energy beams lit up the sky. Alien ships fired with deadly precision, striking the streets of Darev. Humans ran for cover. Civilians scattered. Children screamed. Dust filled the air. But the machines responded instantly. Turrets rose from hidden compartments. Drones intercepted missiles and fighters. Shields flared, absorbing blasts. Every weapon, every machine, every human acted in unison, guided by memory and instinct. Terran piloted a ship from orbit, weaving between alien fire to protect civilians and support the colony's defenses. He felt the Crown's pulse in his mind, connecting him to Ira, to the humans below, and to the awakening humans across the galaxy. Every action was precise. Every maneuver was coordinated. They moved as one. Rethan's fleet faltered. Ships collided. Weapons misfired. Systems failed. His officers shouted, confused and afraid. "Sir, they're machines." "They are alive. Systems are responding too quickly." "We cannot control this." Rethan clenched his fists. "Impossible," he growled. "They are only humans. They cannot." His voice trailed off as another pulse from the Crown spread through the battlefield, disabling alien sensors and weapons. The fleet wavered, unsure what to do. Inside the colony, Ira raised his hand. The Crown glowed brighter, sending signals across Darev and far beyond. Ships in hidden human colonies answered, moving toward Darev to join the defense. Machines activated on distant planets, preparing for battle. Humans across the stars were rising, guided by memory and the Crown. Mira stood near Ira, her eyes wide with awe. "Child, it is happening faster than we expected. The galaxy is responding." Ira nodded quietly. "Memory cannot be stopped. It spreads. It protects. It unites." The alien fleet attempted a direct strike on the underground chamber. Energy beams cut through the surface, striking the pedestal, but the Crown pulsed again. Shields flared across the chamber. Machines activated instantly, repelling the attacks. Drones intercepted missiles, and turrets fired with precision. The aliens realized their weapons were useless. Strength alone could not defeat memory. Taran guided reinforcements from orbit. Ships from hidden colonies emerged, forming a protective barrier around Darev. They attacked alien ships with perfect coordination, striking weak points before the aliens could react. Human fleets moved as though guided by a single mind. The Crown's pulse connected them all, forming an army that had been hidden for centuries, now awake and ready. Rethan's face went pale. He realized that humans were no longer the weak species he had believed. They were not just surviving, they were awakening, and he could not stop it. Ira walked to the edge of the chamber, calm and small, his crown glowing like a star. The energy pulsed outward, reaching every human who could hear. Memory flowed through them, sharpening instincts, courage, and purpose. Humans who had been hidden or scattered now felt connected, united by something greater than themselves. Mira whispered, "Child, they cannot defeat us."
Not now. Not ever.
Ira smiled faintly. "It is not us. It is memory. Humanity remembers itself, and memory cannot be destroyed." The aliens launched one final desperate assault. Massive energy beams cut through the streets, striking machines and buildings. Humans ran, fearing destruction, but the colony's defenses were complete. Shields flared, absorbing the beams. Drones intercepted attacks. Turrets fired with deadly accuracy. Every human moved in unison with the machines, guided by instinct, memory, and courage. Taran flew directly into the heart of the battle, targeting alien command ships. His maneuvers were precise, guided by the Crown's pulse. Every shot hit its mark. Alien ships faltered, engines failing, weapons breaking down. Panic spread through the fleet. Rethan shouted orders, but they could not be executed. Systems failed. Ships collided. Weapons misfired. The aliens could not overcome the force of humans united by memory and instinct. Ira raised his hand toward the sky. The Crown pulsed with a final wave of energy. It was not an attack. It was a call, a command, a reminder. Humans everywhere felt it. They remembered. They understood. They rose together, across the galaxy, connected by memory and purpose. The alien fleet broke and fled. Rethan's forces were scattered, broken, and defeated. He stared at the planet below, realizing he had underestimated humanity. He had thought strength alone would win. He had forgotten memory, courage, and unity. Ira walked through the streets, calm and small, his crown glowing softly. He did not raise a weapon. He did not shout. He only moved, and humans followed instinctively. The colony, once weak and forgotten, was alive, united, and ready for the future. Taran landed his ship and stepped onto the dusty streets. "Child," he said, "the galaxy is ours. We have awakened it." Ira nodded. It was never lost. It was hidden. And now it remembers. Humanity will rise again. Across the galaxy, humans responded. Colonies rebuilt. Fleets repaired themselves. Machines activated. Children, farmers, engineers, and civilians worked together. Humans were no longer small, forgotten, or weak. They were awake. They were remembered. They were ready to rise. Mira watched Ira, her heart full of pride. "Child, you have done what none of us could," she said softly. Ira smiled faintly. "We have done it together. Memory has guided us. Humanity remembers itself, and we are not alone." The stars above Darev seemed brighter than ever. Humans looked at the sky and saw themselves not as weak or forgotten, but as a species that endured, remembered, and would rise again. The galaxy had changed forever. The pulse from the crown faded slowly, leaving a calm that was stronger, than any storm. Humans had remembered, they had awakened, and they were ready for whatever was coming next. The Empire was returning, not with power alone, not with fear, not with conquest. It returned with memory, unity, and the will to survive. Humanity, hidden for centuries, had risen, and it began with a small child and a crown that refused to be forgotten.